So, okay, Coach Peters, roll one, take one. What was that?
Better get that thing out of my face. I'm not looking very good. I'm kidding with you, and it's okay if I mess around with you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
You're going to be.
Let's go right ahead. There we go. All right.
All right. Are we rolling, gentlemen?
We are rolling.
And I'd like to hear. It's been a little while coming, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. We finally got this.
Okay, so if we're ready to talk, I'm ready to talk, and
All right.
I'm ready to say what I have to say to the whole world, if the whole world is listening.
All right.
And we want them to. So if I'm making a speech already, then I don't want it to sound like a speech. I just want it to sound like the truth. And the truth is we need to do something about the world we're handing over to our kids someday. And this project that we got going, which we call IT, and the I stands for I, and the T stands for time, it's time. And when people ask me it's time to do what, I say it's time to make a difference in our world, a positive difference in our world. And the way we're wanting to do that is by using a basic premise of helping people in need. How hard is that? And by the massive sharing of this idea, helping people in need, is going to, if we pull together and we do all of this we can, the best we can, we are going to make our world a better, safer place for everyone. That is the whole premise of what we're doing. And now, the younger people, like I'm going to be speaking to a third grade group over in Sandy Springs here in Georgia, 8-year-old kids, and I'm going to present this whole idea to them. And I believe they're going to be more receptive and want to spread the word of what we're trying to do more than some of the other elderly people, more well-seasoned people, because they're kind of getting used to their routine and they want to sit on the sidelines and be a spectator. And those 8-year-old kids, guarantee you, they're not going to want to be just spectators. This is going to be their world. And their world is going to be better than the one that we have right now. And it's going to include a word that I was talking to you guys about earlier, a word civility, which I may as well, for what I know about what's happening, even at the highest levels in government, does no longer exist. And this thing that we're doing, I call it a thing, and it is is to try to do something to get everybody to use the golden rule. How hard is that? If we teach them as youngsters, and teachers have a responsibility for that too, because it sure seems like parents are, all of these latchkey kids, their parents right now, in this economy, as good as people say it is, there's a whole bunch of people out there that aren't, being able to participate in the good part of the economy. They're working 2 jobs. If there's 2 parents, they're both working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. And so then who's going to teach these kids how to behave with other people, how to treat them the way they'd like to be treated themselves? I guess it's going to be up to the teachers. Then the teachers are already doing quite a bit as far as their responsibility is concerned, but now the one thing that I tried to do from the very beginning, 32 years ago when I was a young dude, not young anymore, well, my next birthday I'm going to be 80. That's kind of scary. We want to make it that far as well, but people have to do these little things every day. I call it an it thing. Have you done your it hit? Have you had an it hit today? Have you done something good for somebody? It even means patting somebody on the back that needs a little bit of some good feelings from you. Calling a friend in need. There's lots of them out there. Don't tell me you don't know somebody that doesn't need a little bit of a pat on the back. How about opening a door for a stranger? And if there's a second door, that stranger will probably open it for you. You exchange smiles, and you exchange what we call an it. It can be small and it can be big. The smallest thing, a smile. Sometimes you have to be careful who you're smiling with, because they may not want to smile back, but who cares? That's their problem, not yours, right? There's things that people are doing right now that are rather special. There's one of the stories as we share this, and now today, this very day, we now have achieved 108,118 views on Facebook, but who's counting? And honestly, the word is getting around that even this 13-year-old boy, he used it. He used this, that his mom told him, you know, about it, the thing that we're doing, and he used it to keep a war from happening in a park. While the parents were talking about these kids throwing rocks at each other, he and his other friend, who also is autistic, went over to this group of people, made friends with them, while the moms and the dads were talking about what to do with this thing, and now those kids are friends and they're sharing that park together. That's what an it is. Another it that happened recently, Maggie, I won't give you her last name, she wouldn't mind if I did. She was at a grocery store taking her groceries out to the car in the shopping cart, and then a gentleman, a homeless gentleman, came up to her and said, "Ma'am, if it's okay with you, I'd sure like to take that shopping cart back to the store because I would like that quarter that they're going to give me." And so she said, "Yes, of course." Well, she walked back up with him so he could get his quarter for the shopping cart, and in the meantime they exchanged names. The guy said, "Can I sing to you?" And I guess he had a pretty good voice. He wouldn't definitely not want to hear me sing. But he had a beautiful voice, and she started singing with him, and now they know each other's name, and I'm not suggesting that you do this unless it's broad daylight with a lot of people. I mean, you know, there's too many things out there that happen that aren't very nice right now. But any little thing, letting somebody in traffic and, you know, maybe even giving them a wave and exchanging a smile to them, about letting somebody go in front of you in the grocery store that has one item and you got 50 items. These things can be little, they sound little, they look little, but actually they're big. And they mean a lot. And that's what we're talking about as far as treating other people the way you'd like them to treat you. How hard is that? I don't think it's hard at all. There's another little it story that you should hear out there. One of my other students, and I got many of them, we have about 2,500 Facebook friends. They don't all respond to everything, but hundreds of them do, and they like what we're doing. They're sharing this program, this project with other people. And it's as simple as something like this. There's a kid named Kip, and his sister sells him Kip. Go touch that share button with the it thing that Coach Peters is doing right now, because you're not treating me the way that I'd like to be treated, and you're misbehaving, and you got to touch that share button with the hope that you're not only going to share this video that Coach has put together, but when you touch that share button, you're also going to share that idea with yourself. It's going to make you remember that you're supposed to be doing something good for somebody instead of something negative. So there's so much to this thing, but there's so little to it as well. And what we'd like to do is share this little idea that everybody's expanding on with everybody in the world. The Facebook thing worked out well for us so far, and it will work out better. But there's 2 billion people on Facebook, and we're now trying to see if we can get some people to help share this in different languages. And I think we might have one right here with a group that's making this film today. But there's so much, but there's so little. I don't know how much time there is.
Well,
Question.
Well, I was going to say, Coach, let's tell us a little bit about you. Where you're from? How did you get into all this?
Well, it probably starts with my parents. They always taught us to be civil, to treat other people the way you'd like to be treated, and that kind of was ingrained in us. And then, of course, as I grew up and wound up playing football, and then getting a scholarship to Stanford, and shortly thereafter getting injured, and that's why I got some titanium parts now. But the parents have such a role in this, and I had a stay-at-home mom back in the day, and so she could guide us every day with what we were doing and what we were thinking and how to behave. If we weren't really doing that, we got some little lessons about maybe we should behave. But the going to college and trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and what I wanted to do was work with people, it appears, because as soon as I graduated from Stanford and got my master's degree in education, I worked at Carverly High School at the age of 24, and I knew right away that there was something special about those kids and my relationship with them and their relationship with me. I thought, I didn't even know really what I was doing, but it felt right from the beginning when I basically treated them like adults unless they proved to me that I had to treat them another way. Then I kind of guided them into maybe a little bit better behavior. But I opened my heart and my mind to them, and that was the beginning of it, because even 50 years later now, I am now getting Facebook posts that say, Coach, this happened 50 years ago, and I should have talked to you earlier about it, but I want to tell you how much it means to me right now, what you told us, what you taught us way back then. And it wasn't just what you were saying or what you wrote in some of the things you were writing, but it was the way you made us feel. They felt welcome. It didn't hurt that my house was right across the street from the high school and around the corner. And so our house 24/7 had lots of athletes and non-athletes in it. Being a coach of football, wrestling, and track for most of the 32 years that I taught in the Palo Alto Unified School District, we always had kids in our house. And it wasn't just the athletes. One of my biggest measures of success are the stories that I hear from kids, some of my physical education students, who basically were saying some of the same things about us, my family, treating them like it was their family and opening our house and our minds and our hearts to these kids. And there was a communication set up with those kids that really developed into something rather large. I think the first time that it really hit home was like we're doing with the IT program right now. During the Vietnam War in 1971 through 75, we wound up doing a program that it just seemed like the kids were, I had said this before, throwing rocks and cops and bricks through windows. How does that make anybody have a good opinion about what you're trying to tell him? Well, I don't think it did. And so we had to figure out, or I got some kind of a crazy idea, that if we, after seeing the program on TV, it was called Gooks, it was what was happening to the children in North and South Vietnam from the result of that war, these innocent kids, and it just felt like we could do something, maybe. And then seeing this program on TV called Gooks, we realized that if we could bring to the attention of the world what happens to children when two nations decide to go to war, these are the innocent victims, that would, if we could help build a burn treatment center for all of the kids, both North and South, we would be making a statement against war. The man that had that original hospital in Saigon, now Ho Chi Minh City, Arthur J. Barsky, you will know that name because he was the single person that set up the Hiroshima Maiden Burn Treatment Center after the dropping of the first atomic bomb. He built this then hospital in Saigon, Vietnam, for the children, the innocent victims of that war. And we were able to get together and provide a program. It was kind of a strange one because we did it with long hair and a beard with me to begin with. And we earned something close to, from what I hear, $50,000 with a program that was, you might have seen this before, it was in every media that there was. To determine whether or not a coach should have long hair and a beard, you voted with 10 cents a vote. And we wound up having to have the hair cut and the beard shaved. And I think that we gave the kids a voice. Not only did we give the kids at our school a voice, but we shared that idea with all of the rest of the high schools and junior high schools across the nation with a letter campaign to every school and also to every congressman and senator, by the way. And we got major positive response, including at least 3 different times in the congressional record applauding the effort to try to bring to the attention of the world what happens to children when nations go to war. And our kids had a voice. They had a voice that was going to be heard. And now, when after Coverly High School closed in 1980, 1979 and 1980, because of a lack of population in our community, I went and spent the next 16 years at Gun High School, where immediately those kids again wanted a voice, and it was a thing called Project Peace. Some of the kids got together. We had peace breakfasts. We had everything you can imagine. And what we had that nobody else seemed to have in the whole country was a peace wish. At every lunch on Tuesday, we'd get out in the center quad of our school, and we'd hold hands and we would wish for peace. That was we didn't want to bridge the problem of the political aspect of religion in public schools, but it didn't seem like anybody would mind if we could wish, and we did that at least 100 times on Tuesdays over a several years period of time, and that was a part of a thing that we call the Project Peace, but this was Peace Wish, and then from that grew a strange little thing where I wanted to make it a real point to the rest of the kids in school, and I had to do something that, as it turned out, was rather strange. I said, how am I going to have these kids really remember what it is that we're trying to do with it, then Project Peace? So I carted 300 pounds of weights down to the choir room where there was a grand piano, invited everybody to come in, but the kick was they had to pay a penny to hear the coach play, and they didn't know what else he was going to do. They had heard, and so they came in, they gave their pennies, minimum donation. I thought I was worth at least a penny, but to do something that nobody's ever maybe done before, I played some Chopin. I played the piano ever since I was 6 years old. May as well make some good use of it, right? And so I played every day, except when my fingers and hands were all screwed up from playing that wonderful sport that we have called football. And so I would play the piano, bunch of kids there. They all came in, they filled the room, and then I walked over to a bench that had 300 pounds of weights on it, and I bench pressed 300 pounds once. Went back to the piano, played some Chopin, tried to show off some more of my skills, went back to the bench and bench pressed 300 pounds 2 times. And I did that, and thank God lunch was over, because about the time I was on my 5th rep on the 5th thong, I was running out of gas big time. So anyway, that made an impact, and that's part of what we have now as the catalyst for this IT video that we created and now has been shown on YouTube and viewed over 108,000 times, and we're making a dent. And the whole process of that was to show people, tell people, remind people that there are people out there who need our help, and we can do it sometimes very easily. They need our help in a big way, and that's where this new project, this new movement, we'll call it, I'd like to call it a quest, of helping people in need, and with the hope.
Right. Yeah, camera's rolling. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
All right, here goes. Man, it's nice to have it. Okay. All this automatic adjustments and stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Automatic is good.
Okay, here goes. All right. Coach Peters interview, take 2. Click. Okay.
Haven't had enough of me yet, huh? Before we finish, maybe we're not finished or even close to being finished yet, but my wife Marcia and I, in a combined family, have 7 children and 10 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And I'll be darned if before I leave this earth, and they say my time is, actually my regular lifetime warranty is basically expired. In fact, the extended one looks like it's a little bit expired too. So I have to tell you, I don't know how many of you believe in God, and it's okay if you don't, but I want you to know that certainly I do, because I do. And I have a little deal with God. Maybe you'd like to hear it. It goes something like this. If it's okay with you, God, it's more than okay with me if whatever it is you want me to accomplish before you punch my ticket to heaven, it's okay with me if you're not in too big of a hurry to have me complete whatever it is, and that's fine with me. And I like to share that with people because it kind of brings it more to reality, and brings more reality to it. And I'm not going to be here forever, nor is anybody. But I'll be darned if before I leave I'm not going to do something to help my grandchildren, my kids and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren have a chance at a better, more civil world than the one we have right now. There's way too much anger and hatred. Where did that all come from? Apparently we learn things like that. We're not born with that, and we learn it. And so it's time with what we're doing with our little IT project to reteach people how to treat other people like I was saying before, the same way that they would like to be treated. Is there something wrong with that we can't all understand that and start doing it day by day, a little bit every day, maybe a little bit more than a little bit? And our kids don't deserve to inherit the world as it is right now. I'm thinking that there's a lot of you out there would agree with me about that. And so don't just be a spectator. Let's together, and I know there's a whole bunch of groups out there that are doing a whole bunch of wonderful things. And as we pull all of these groups together and we do this thing together about making our world a better, safer place for everyone, we will have much more impact, we will have much more success, and I think we can make a dent in all of that hatred and ill will that's going on right now. And I mentioned before, civility. I don't see that happening as much, at least at the higher levels of government right now, that I think we all deserve. And I just wanted to make that point that I'm not a sideline person. I'm in this game, and although my next birthday I'll be 80, and my doctors told me that probably 8 years ago, when my cancer spread to my bones, that I actually had 18 to 24 months to live. Well, in my little deal with God, not punching my ticket to heaven yet, that time has been extended, and I don't plan to do nothing with it as long as I got a voice to give young people a voice and to have them all come together and share this idea about doing something good and helping people in need through not only in their own community but throughout the world. I think is a good thing, and I feel gratified that I'm getting some positive response from presenting this thing that we call IT. And like I said, it stands for It's Time. And people ask me, it's time to do what, Coach? I say it's time to help people in need so we can help make our world a better, safer place. And I mentioned before some of the little things that we can do to accomplish that. And like I said, it doesn't take something big. Even calling a friend. There's a lot of people out there who are in trouble, and you know them. But do you call them? How hard is it to call them? Send them. I'm not so good on text messaging and that sort of thing. I kind of like at least them to hear my voice so they can hear the personal touch as far as saying, everything's going to be okay. And you're not alone. And I'm with you. And what I get a lot from a lot of my former students who are on Facebook with me, more than 2,500 now, they got my back too. It's a military term. You got your six. I got your six. It means I'm there for you as you are there for me. And that's what I think we should be doing more of than we do right now. The little things. And honestly, if God is keeping me here for a reason, maybe this is it, as long as we're not in a hurry to finish it, like I said before, God. So, He's really helped me with the extension of my life warranty.
What about the presentation brings you the most joy?
The presentation, it makes people smile. It makes people smile not only on the outside, but the inside as well. And they get more than just an exchange of words. They get an exchange of feelings. Feeling of doing something good. And honestly, that joy is very fulfilling. And I have a large platform with a lot of students. I was 32 years coaching and teaching and so, but the deal is there's not a lot of people with that platform. There's some who are out there alone, and I'm thinking I share with people, don't just give it to the old coach. I mean, I'm kind of crazy sometimes and a little more flamboyant than most people for all of the nutty things I do. There are a lot of teachers who told me before with some of the nutty things I do that we're with you, Bob, but we can't really express that openly because we're fearful of losing our job. And I said, well, I'm glad to have you behind me, but I'd like to have you with me, but that's okay, whatever you need to do. If you're not, making it worse for me as far as what I'm doing, all these nutty stunts, then I'm okay with that. And so the joy comes from seeing the response, from feeling the response of the people and of my former students and friends who tell me how much this thing does mean to them. And they think for some of them it's kind of a new start. Some of them are elementary school teachers and they're starting to put this little program into their schedule of activities. And I think I said before, I was invited by Mark over in Sandy Springs, a third grade teacher who I'm sure his kids love him. I'm going to go into that classroom and I'm going to give him something that did not expect from this old guy. But before I leave, I'm going to have these kids also doing it. There's little teeny kids and almost babies out there. They hear their parents talking about it and they say, I want to do an it too. And the next thing you know, they find out it's helping people, so they're running around helping their parents clean the house. I don't know how well they're doing, but they're doing that and they're saying, look, we're doing it, Mommy, we're doing it. And so if it starts that early, I think we got something good going on here.
So, Coach, have you considered producing models for grades, grammar school?
I have, but I'm not a technical person. I know there's so many people out there that are highly technical. I turn my computer on and I can turn it off, and that's about as far as I can do, maybe a few other things. But the technical aspects of this thing, as far as making it digital and getting digital programs into schools, that's got to be up to somebody else. I've got hundreds of students that are a whole lot smarter than this old PE teacher, and they can do this for me. And I'm encouraging them to help me do this, to help themselves, to help others. Can you imagine kids with something like this as part of their regular program in school? Now, I know that a lot of elementary school teachers teach their kids how to behave. Let's put it together, and maybe even, I know that I can start a national high school movement with this thing, but what's wrong with a national grammar school movement with this thing? And some of the teachers getting together to say, hey, we can actually not share this in just our school, but what about the other schools in our community? So there's a wide spectrum out there of where this can be shared on a very large scale. This little teeny word, two-letter word, which means so much to so many people as far as being a better person and having the people around them be better people as well. And I'm hoping that some of my friends hear this who are technologically minded. And the thing is, I said this once before, that we're so high-tech right now and we know all of these things, but sometimes more is less, and to be able to put that to good and into teaching people how to behave with other people is a goal that would be a beautiful thing to accomplish, because basically this one person ain't going to do this by himself. It can't happen. I need, let's put it this way, we need everybody to pull together to do more things like this. Technological minded people, please help us. Please get involved with this. Please help us create a model that everybody can just adopt and then use in their schools. There are those of you out there who do that really well. And some of you have helped me even how to cut and paste. And I appreciate that, but that's about all this old guy can do. As far as the digital kinds of things that we need to do with all of the models that are out there, you got to help us. I mean, I say yes because there's, thank goodness in a way, there's only one of me causing this much trouble, right? But look, we've got to use our technology, not to get to Mars, but how about we get to this Earth, and how about we use that technology to help people get along and be more civil toward each other? Is there something wrong with that? I don't think so.
In light of that, can it combat bullying or de-conflict?
Look, the one story I have, if a 13-year-old autistic child with his friend who's also autistic stop a turf war in a park and have everybody get along because he's using the philosophy of it and used it as the model, you bet. And how can this not be used? like I said before, his name is Liam. And I'd tell the story, and his mother would like me to, and she's actually the daughter of one of my former students who got a hold of this thing, and her 13-year-old son found out about it and used it in that park to keep a turf war from turning into something worse than it was. In fact, it turned it into something rather beautiful, because those kids now that were throwing rocks at each other and hitting their targets, by the way, and causing some damage, are now best friends sharing that same turf. That's a message for the world, isn't it? Many things like that. And why? You just have to, we have to practice doing it. We have to, apparently, because there's so much ill will and hatred out there, we have to practice doing something good for each other every day. Think about it, do it. Make it a habit. Don't just think about it. When you are conscious about the fact that you are doing something, now there's another thing. You don't have to do it like I do. I do it in flamboyantly in a lot of ways, right? With all of the nutty things I've done. Do it sometimes when nobody else is looking. You don't have to get credit for it. You're not looking for credit for it. You're looking forward to doing it, to doing a it hit, if you will. So I wish I had the end. This bullying thing is major out there, and I think that practicing behaving and treating other people like you would like to have them treat you, that could go a long way toward eliminating a lot of this bullying, which is happening out there with kids that are loners. They treat other people like that because they're bullying somebody because they feel that way about themselves. Now, if they had other friends that reach out to them, and I think some schools are doing that as well, if there's loners in your school, don't let them be a loner at lunch. Don't let them be a loner after school. Search them out and bring them into your cliques. And cliques have been around for a long time in all kinds of ways. And don't let ethnicity, is that the word? Ethnicity. There you go. But don't, there's one world, there's one people. I said somewhere else before, the astronauts, when they're up in the, and they say this too, if you could only see the earth from where we see it, it's one earth. Guess what? There's one people. We all have the same dreams and wishes and wants and desires of everybody else, with all the different skins colored out there, all of the different languages. There's one people. It's called the human race. That's the race that's important. And the sooner we think about that, the sooner we try to pull together and try to help each other instead of being so selfish and so self-centered, the more we will be a better and a safer earth for everybody on this planet.
So in terms of marketing, Coach, exposing this message to the world, what are you doing?
Man, I feel so limited because I'm at the end of my career in every way, and the Facebook thing seemed like a perfect platform to do something. Now, sometimes when you're talking about people helping people, it doesn't get the amount of attention that somebody does who does one little thing for one little person that gets on Facebook and gets 3 million or so views. I'm not quite, well, I do understand that. We're not flashy. We're not, I'm not going to bench press for everybody and play Chopin for everybody all the time at the same, alternately. But we have to figure out a way to make this kind of like a shock and awe kind of thing. We have to bring it to people's attention in a way that they're going to remember it, that they're going to do something about it, that they're not going to sit on the sideline and let other good people try to fix this whole problem all by themselves. Get involved.
So Coach, what resources, what do you need to expand this movement? What could help you?
I need people. This thing happens on a one-to-one basis as well. If you're listening to this, or if you're hearing any part of this thing, you do something. Share this idea. It's online. You can go online and find it. It's all over the place on my homepage for sure. Share it and then think about it. Think about what you're doing. Now, Facebook is one format. There's so many other social networks out there that could use this very same platform to do this very same thing. And I'm hoping that as many friends as I have, and who have friends and who have friends and who have friends, that this thing can be the snowball that's going down the hill and gaining momentum and size as well. And that's one way. The other way is there's other people out there. There's certainly a heck of a lot more people than just this old guy who's trying to share ideas just like this, but they need help too. So there's other people that know how to use each one of these social platforms. They're expert at it. Suggestions, ideas, da-da-da.
No, it's good. We're covering everything. You know the script pretty much by heart. I'm like, I don't have to ask
Well, I
questions.
read those questions, and some of them were pretty good, but the thing is, it's so inherent. Some of this stuff is so basic that we can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. That's right. Okay, all right, rolling. And Coach Peters' interview, take 3. Yeah, click.
I'm clicked. You clicked me. That's what I want everybody to do. I want them to click the share button. Come on. How hard is that? I mean, do you have arthritis, or what is that stuff called when you do the computer thing? Your fingers get all messed up. It's called something. You guys don't know?
No.
Yes, you do.
Carpal tunnel.
Carpal tunnel. Nobody has.
I have a little bit
Not
of that.
enough. You got 10 fingers. Use one of those fingers to click that share button. Get the message out there, and let's see what we can do with something good. It doesn't have to be the movies that you see right now. Somebody's not killing 100 people all with one slash of a sword. You don't want to watch it anymore. Well, there's something more to life than that. I hope. Please let there be something more to life than that. And entertainment. And that's what we were talking about before. We have to figure out a way to do this in a way that people not only remember it, but they act upon it, and it becomes a part of their daily habit. To be better to people, to help people in need. And one of the biggest diseases out there?
Yeah.
Loneliness. It causes a lot of problems, not only for those people, but the people who they're going to impact later in some very not so nice way. So you see somebody, you don't want to go into dark places necessarily and search anybody out, but they're all over the place right now on the streets. And a lot of people are. You see these things on YouTube where somebody is helping somebody out there in a very great way as far as deciding, let's get these guys some socks, some shoes. So how about, there is that happening too. But it has to happen with everybody. We have to work this thing as a team. I'm big on teams because I coached wrestling, the one-on-one thing, and track, kind of an individual sport as well. But football, we did nothing unless we had a team. There isn't a quarterback in the world that can function if you don't have tackles and guards in the center blocking for him, right? So we need to act as a team on this thing. We have to work together, and that's my whole point, trying to bring people together. And I'm not officially affiliated with any schools or any institutions like that anymore, but I can sure use Facebook. And if every one of you will teach me how to use all those other little tricks out there that I know nothing about, I hear the words, but you, all of you know, so you can use those platforms, whatever they are, the other social media things. They're there to be used for not just telling people what you had for breakfast or that you're recovering from a cold, but something better than that, something that impacts all of us. And yes, we all can sympathize with anybody that's not feeling very good with, get better soon and that sort of thing. And we do.
All right, so tell Coach,
Yeah.
what does it mean to give? Tell me, what does that mean to you?
To me, what it means to give is to treat your friends and relationships and relatives better than you treat yourself. It means that you're going to put them first and you second. That's in relationships as well. I think that's what it means to give. It means to do something without expecting something in return. And you can give all day long, and to share yourself with other people, to share your love with other people. And I always say that to share your love, you got to have some love yourself. So I hope you feel good about yourself enough that you can share some of the good things that you have inside of you with other people. To give is to give of yourself. Is there something else you'd like to know about giving, Carl? To give is to give part of not just a material thing away, but part of your heart, or part of the inside of you. You want to open your heart and your thoughts to other people so that you have a communication going on there without sometimes even talking. Feeling like some of my former students say, and it shocked me when they first told me that, it's not some of the corny things you say, and I'm the corniest coach in the whole world. I'm #1, and I hold that record, and everybody tells me, you're right, Coach, that you do exactly that. At the same time, I want to be corny enough to really try to get this thing moving faster forward. Let's press the 5-speed on the TV button and get these things really going in a way that it can have a great impact on the world. Giving, opening your heart, opening your mind. And guess what you do? When you do that, a lot of people will do the very same for you. Now you're giving each other something important.
Tell me, in light of that, tell me about random acts of kindness. What's that all about?
That's a pretty good question. It's just random acts sometimes don't have to be that random. Consciously do something good for somebody and maybe know you're doing it. But random acts can be patting somebody on the back that needs a little bit of a hand up and not a hand down. Calling somebody who you know isn't feeling good. Okay, they don't feel good because they're sick or they've been down or something has happened that's not so nice. Call them and say, you're not alone. I'm here for you. It could be, like we talked about before, letting somebody in front of you in the grocery store, for crying out loud. You have 50 items, they've got one. Even if you don't, even if you have one and they have 50, try to do that and see how much the rest of the people in this organization, who is this person? What did they just do? They did something good for somebody else, even though it sounds kind of crazy. It may sound crazy, but the impact that something like that would have, I've tried it myself. You try it, you'll like it. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. And letting somebody in traffic, because those, what I find, in Georgia, people do that pretty well. I'm from California. California's got a lot to learn about letting people in traffic when they're having trouble getting in, because maybe they're afraid that somebody else behind them isn't going to like that so much. Do it anyway. And the random acts, there could be anything you can think of that helps somebody out of a problem. It's another helping, it's another helping people in need kind of a thing. And it could be as much as opening the door for somebody. And you'd be surprised, when I go to Planet Fitness, somebody opens the door for me. There's 2 doors there. And I say, I'm supposed to be, the gentleman. Why are you taking this away from me? There's a second door. I run ahead and I open that door for them. You'd be surprised what kind of a conversation that starts. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. All of a sudden you're feeling good when you didn't feel that good before. How good is that? It doesn't take that much. Those random acts can be anything, but as you practice those random acts, they become kind of a habit, and now all of a sudden you're doing something that we're liking to have you do, and that's to help people in need.
So, Coach, who are your heroes and that have powerfully touched your life and thus helped you birth this dream of it?
Well, Jesus, I'm sorry. A lot of people aren't going to like that, but Jesus, I like Abraham Lincoln too. Those are like 2 of my big guys out there. And Lincoln, Jesus, because he's Jesus, and Jesus gives us grace. And you can feel like, okay, you did something that wasn't so great one day. Well, guess what? Jesus will take that on for you. And that's the one of the things that God did, gave up his only son, right? For us. There's not a bigger sacrifice than that. Abraham Lincoln, out of context, is a little bit difficult sometimes to understand all of the things, but man, that guy fought. And what he did that's so unique in his cabinet is everybody that was fighting against him, he tried, if they were quality people, he put them in his cabinet, the team of rivals. You've heard of the book, you may have read it yourself. But honest to goodness, what a better thing to do. And what he got done, as much as people look back and say, maybe he didn't do it all for the right reasons, guess what? The accomplishment is what we're striving to do even today, since 1865. And my mom and my dad, big heroes in my mind. And women, mothers who can smile even though there's tough times. They're another hero for me, heroine or whatever you want to call it. But the stay-at-home moms, and talking about the moms that are working and doing all of the stay-at-home stuff too, all together without much help. There's another army of heroes out there that's rather big time in my mind.
So Coach, how does the IT project continue to progress the remarkable humanitarian outreach work you've done for the past decades?
With guys like you, Carl, individually, and that's why I will have this conversation with people in a grocery store or in an elevator. And the one-to-one, if there's a lot of one-to-ones, we're not one-to-one anymore, are we? But at the same time, it's doing something on a larger platform than one person can do. And whether it's me getting into a third grade classroom or trying to institute something with Rotary Club International out there, who I was an honorary member for 13 years because I was their faculty advisor. For the Interact Club, there are clubs out there in high schools that are ready-made to do something like this. In California, we did something with District 517 with the Rotary Club. The kids, it's the high school unit of the Rotary Club basically, and they created some very interesting projects by pulling together. Coverly High School, I never told you this, but you know, Coverly High School, we raised a peace flag every morning for 3 years. A peace flag, United States flag, California flag, our peace flag, which my first wife Pat sewed together for us, a beautiful thing. The first one was gold, and that was stolen along with the California and the United States flag at the end of the school year. She made another one, and she did that twice, so 3 years. I bet you that was the only high school in the country that raised a peace flag every day. Maybe people didn't recognize that we were doing it. And so, you know, people would get upset about that. How can you raise a peace flag? Well, we decided to, we did, the administration did that, and initially, instead of raising a peace flag, we shot a 10-gauge cannon off every brunch. And I did that every day until the student council said, "Hey, Coach, you're doing this in the name of peace, shooting the cannon?" I said, "What else would you like me to do?" They said, "Well, come up with something." And we came up with the flag, which we already had in mind. How about if we raise a peace flag in front of our school for the time that you guys are here and the time that they will allow it? Well, for 3 years, we raised this beautiful flag, which I have now as a memento for not only what we did at Coverly High School, but at Gunn High School, we used that same flag in the middle of the center quad, where we had border around it with holes for every flag in the nation, and we had kids from different countries present their flag at our Peace Wish in the name of peace, and a little bit about their country as well. And so that flag still existed even there, and still does exist now. I have it as a memento.
So Coach, how do we make kindness the norm, or better yet, empower it to be the norm for humanity?
One-on-one, we got to work at it. We got to put that thing out there in the front. We got to tell people what we're doing so they know that that's exactly what we're doing. And this is not a secret. Look around and see where the world is. See where our country is. See the lack of civility. You don't think we need this? Well, we do. It's getting out of the bleachers onto the field or the court. Be a participant in this thing. Join in. Share. Press that. Click that little thing that says share on Facebook, and you're doing something about it. You're sharing it, and then tell people why you're doing it, that it's that important to you. Hopefully, if you share it, the way Facebook works, if you share it publicly, then the friends you share it with can share it with their friends as well, and so on and so forth. We can get to millions that way. Now, otherwise, I don't know, because it's all of you with all of the technical equipment you have and the special machines that can do this thing on a much larger scale than an old PE teacher can do. Help me. Help me help you.
I'm going to stop there.
You want me to accomplish done, and so far I'm like, you know, this is like kind of like magic. And what you tell me, if I didn't believe in God 1,000% before, I sure do now. And each one of these kinds of things pushes you And I've had so many friends who are mathematics, they're the scientists, and they say, no, we don't believe in God, and why would God let this happen? I say, okay, you're a scientist, aren't you? How big is big? How big is the universe? They say, well, it's big. I said, what are the possibilities that God exists? Give me a number. And they said, well, it has to be so far out there. I said, it's so far out there, but you're telling me there's a number out there somewhere that God exists. And I said, I want you to prove to me then, based on what you know mathematically, that he doesn't exist. Well, they say, well, we must have to numerically. I said, you're a scientist, right? They said, yeah. They said, well, you're now talking me into believing that there's a chance that God exists. I said, yeah. I have other friends that wear a St. Christopher medal and they wear a Star of David. They're hedging their bets too. Because what if we're right? What if the people that believe in God are right? And what if the people that don't believe in God are wrong? Why wouldn't you believe in God? I mean, are you crazy? I mean, just selfishly speaking, logically speaking. Well, I've always believed in God, but I believe in God more now, if that's possible. And we went to church and that sort of thing, and you learn a lot of things about God and that. But I'm telling you, I don't know what's to learn. God's in every cell of your body and everybody else's. How does he not exist? Prove to me he doesn't. You can't. You want to touch something that you can't touch, but you know it's true? Touch love with your finger. Go ahead. Can't do it. Can you touch God? Well, maybe if God wanted you to, you could, but you can't really touch God. And touch the feeling, you can't touch that feeling of love either. There's so many things you can't touch, but you still believe. Tell me you don't believe in God. And tell me why, if you want to get into that discussion. I don't really like getting into that discussion, but I will. But talking about religion and politics and that sort of thing is, somebody believes something, that's them, that's their truth, that's their reality. You can't really talk them out of it now, but you can maybe cause them a little bit of a question, which I think I do. And I've got two very solid friends who don't believe in God, but now they're questioning. And that's what I want to do. I want to make them question themselves as to whether or not a God really exists, that the God exists. And like I said, the one thing, if I were to wish for anything, would be that we have one God over everybody, which I think we do anyway. And if you put all of these religions together, there's so many things that are so similar. And, they have a problem with some of the nomenclature once in a while. But guess what? They all come out kind of the same. There is a higher power. I call him God. You call him what you want. It's okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. And the people that believe, if it's just a crutch, it's a nice crutch. Why wouldn't you want to have hope and faith? What are you giving up by having hope and faith? You're gaining so much. You're gaining a feeling of what everybody wants to look for. It's a feeling of peace. And I believe that I have found peace because of Jesus. Now, I'm not a big banger out there for knocking people down in the store or whatever, a grocery store or a hardware store, saying, you got to believe. No, I want to do it by example. By example is always the best way anyway. People ask me, well, we don't understand how, if you're so sick, you look so good. I said, because I want to. I think it's a choice. Now, I can choose, because I'm sick and I'm terminal, and everybody knows that, I've got one of the worst kinds of things you can get as far as knowing when I'm going to die from and other people don't. Who knows? But honestly, I choose to feel good about every second that I have here on earth. I could choose not to. I could be woe is me. Why would I want to do that when I can choose to feel good about the fact that I'm here? Good about the fact that I'm breathing this air and I'm here and I can relate to people. I would give that up to feel woe is me? Are you kidding me? I'm not that crazy. I'm crazy, but maybe crazy like a fox. I choose to feel good about things. When people say to me, but Coach, you're so sick. I say, you know what, I'm going to tell you something. Carl, if you ask me that question, I'm saying, I forgot I was that sick until you told me I was that sick. Don't tell me that anymore. Because if I look better than a lot of people who are terminally ill with quadruple bypass and E. coli and all of this septic stuff and, my terminal cancer and that sort of, why can't you do the same? Why wouldn't you do the same? They say, well, we can't. I said, wait a minute, this is a choice. It's a conscious choice you make. It is within you. It's called freedom of choice and freedom of thought, and nobody controls your thoughts really but you. And so why don't you choose to feel good? I feel friggin', without using the words, great.
All right. 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Let's use this. What is some advice you would give to someone who is trying to reach a youth or someone? What would you tell them to do? What would be your best advice of how to reach that person?
How to reach what I have?
Well. There were athletes and students as you're teaching. What advice would you give someone else on how to reach them?
How to reach them, you got to get inside of them by allowing them to get inside of you. Simple as that. If you really open your heart and your mind to these other students that you want to make some magical contact with, it's not magical, it's called human, being a human, then consciously open yourself. Ask them about themselves. Figure out who they are. No more than just their name. You know, everybody thinks that's a great thing. Yes, and people like it when you know their name. But let them know you so that you can know them. Period.
All right, that's it.
Getting me all wound up. Now I'm getting ready to do something good here, you know.
All right, that's it.
Okay.